Hey people, it's Steel Gamer here with a Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of live stream / video. And as the title says, this game is not broken, people are just morons. Now, before getting into the content of this, I'm going to clarify a few things. Number one, I'm not even going to engage with any discussion about anything in this video. I've disabled live chat, comments are not going to be made or anything else because this is what I'm saying is it. I'm not even going to get into this. And you can say, well, you're trying to be... No. I'm done listening to fucking morons about this. Secondly, I'm not using this as an excuse, or make excuses for the developers either, because they're by no means innocent as well. I'm simply taking all of the contextual history that gamers have with things, and I'm putting it into perspective, because gamers never want to take responsibility for the shit that they cause in their own games. Now, the last thing I'm going to clarify is some people legitimately have issues, but they are so few that it is nothing compared to the ration of stupidity that people are plastering all over the internet. These game outlets are saying this, reviews are being put up about this being bad or crap. Fuck all that. Let's cut the bullshit, and I'm going to direct exactly what the fuck is going on by using gamers' own history to prove a point. Now, not that this matters, but let me get into it here. Alright, so first things first. I'm going to compare what the fuck is going on with these AAA games to mods gamers use. And then I'll put this into perspective so you get the point. Throughout history, and I'm mainly going to be using Elder Scrolls series games for this, and Fallout, things like that. Throughout history, gamers do the same fucking thing over and over and over again. And they encounter the same exact problems over and over and over again. And the majority of the gamers all do it, and they all run into the same fucking problem. Every single time. These launch issues with these games are the same way. So, let me clarify why I'm comparing these to mods. Throughout the history of Elder Scrolls, there is a pattern embedded here that fucking everybody ignores, and that same pattern is applied to the launching of these games. So again, I want to state that some people have legitimate problems. That's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the idiotic behavior and patterns that these fucking morons in the gaming community as a general want to portray, and then never take responsibility for what they do. It's always the game developer's fault. Always. Now, again, I'm not making excuses for them because they're not innocent either. But this is a fucked up issue and it needs to be addressed. So, when gamers use mods, the mods and or console commands, and again, I'm using ZeniMax games for this because this is the main culprit. Since mods have been in existence, since the creation kits have been released, even follow the Garden of Eden creation kit or the creation club or whatever you want to use. Gamers don't know how to fucking make mods. I've made countless videos on this and everybody argued with me for fucking 2 years on this, only to come to find out that the Nexus took all my fucking information and posted it, and then the same people who were disagreeing with me and arguing with me are now somehow in agreement with it because I explained many videos on mods, when you use them, because people don't know how to make them, break your fucking game, period. And they cause us conflicts, and I explain this all in videos. When you're dealing with the launching of games, gamers do the fucking same thing. They change directories. They do stupid shit to the install. They start making exceptions to folders. They start fucking around with the installations, and they start changing things. And then, when the game fucking breaks, it's the developer's fault. Something wrong. This game can't launch. But what's more so is that these fucking idiots argue with me. Changing the directory doesn't do anything. Yes, it fucking does. These games are set up for a specific directory. That's how the game developers make them. If you're too fucking stupid to understand that when a game developer puts out a game and it puts it into a pathway, the launcher and the pathway are designed to talk to each other. If you fuck with the installation, the launcher can't talk to it properly, and it causes a fucking problem. It's not that hard to understand. Now, that isn't to say that some people can't run their games that way. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this is the shit people do. And then when something happens, oh, no, that won't cause it. My favorite argument is this. if the game developers didn't want you changing the directory, they wouldn't have allowed it. Which has nothing to fucking do with if you change the directory, the pathway on which the game needs to talk to the launcher is changed. That information is broken. Now, yes, I believe that the developer shouldn't be doing that, but that isn't the fucking point. This is about what the gamers are fucking doing to their games. The next problem is these fucking idiots are trying to jack their game up on settings that the game can't handle. Their computer can't handle it. Now, I'm not saying some people don't have legitimate issues. That I'm not saying. But this reminds me of the fucking idiots who were using Crossfire, which is an NVIDIA card, to pick up the PhysX for the game, and then an AMD card to run the game, causing a problem. And then when they started yelling, oh, my game's broken, blah, 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 back, and you can research this, you can find that NVIDIA actually inserted their drivers to disable Crossfire. And then everyone argued, oh, no, that didn't happen. If you read it, it's on NVIDIA's site. And everyone's like, well, official. But when you bring up official information, if it doesn't suit their argument, it's like, oh, no, you're wrong. But yet they'll use official information to use the people are just fucking stupid. So here's the thing. The next problem is launchers. People who use Steam are fucking idiots when they get a game through Steam and then have another launcher of the game, and then bitch about the launcher, and then when the game breaks, it's never, never the fault of having two launchers running at once, which causes a fucking conflict, because they're not even made with these launchers. And I've gone over this in videos many times. And so, when you have fucking idiots that are buying games through Steam that already have a launcher to them, such as Ubisoft games, and they're bitching about how the Ubisoft launcher, you can't launch the fucking game without the launcher. Saying you don't like that fucking company and then saying the launcher sucks while you have to use it makes you a fucking idiot. It's as simple as that. So, the reason why people who only buy the game specifically through the system that has their own launcher 99% of the time never have a problem is because they're not using third-party software to interfere with the fucking launching. They're not fucking with their installs. They're not doing things. They're not, trying to change directories, add shit, edit files. If you look at every fucking one of these problems, 99% of the fucking people that are having a problem has either fucked with the installation directory, changed settings on there, or something happened where they weren't patient enough, so they stopped the game from launching and went in and edited a file. And or they have their settings up so fucking high that they're crashing the game on purpose. Again, I'm going to be clear that some people have legitimate issues, so this doesn't apply, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fucking history of gamers in general. Constantly having a repetitive pattern of being fucking retarded. If you use mods over and over and over again in every game that comes out, and your game breaks, and the first thing you post in a fucking topic is, here's the mods I listed, blah, 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 my game's broken, it's the developer's fault, you are a fucking idiot. You listed out mods, and then your game's broken. And then people try to justify this with all this, well, I use this in other games, this is the only game I have a problem with. Shut the fuck up with that argument. That's not a valid counterpoint. You cannot take what happens with one game and apply it to the other. Every game is different, it's going to run differently. You cannot use one to justify the other. That's not how this fucking works. And, yes, I'm being belligerent with this because people are fucking stupid. And so, if you fuck with the installation directory, again, I got into a fucking debate with these people. It's like, they didn't want you putting the game in a different installation directory. I moved it into a... None of that shit's fucking relevant. Here's the launcher, here's the game. The launcher says put the game in this directory. Guess what? Put it in that fucking directory. They can't talk to each other. Now, that doesn't mean the game won't run, or you may not have problems with it, but that's the fucking baseline I'm talking about. That's the issue. Not where you can do it, not what the game developer allows. Your fucking comments about, well, this, I can put this in it. Yeah, you can, but you're being a fucking idiot. So if you take a look at 99% of these people that are all having these problems, everything I just explained is a repetitive pattern. They do it with go look at every single major game that's come out and look at the same exact problems. There's multiple launchers involved. People are editing files. They're jacking the game up on settings their computer can't handle. They're comparing one game to another. Now, I run 150 mods on this and it's no problem. Who gives a fuck? That has nothing to do with it. This game may not be able to handle that shit. Well, my computer's overwhelming. Shut the fuck up, you entitled moron. If you have a $10,000 computer, fine, good, all the power to you. But to actually say that that game should run fine because your hardware is up to par makes you a fucking idiot. That's not how this works. Now, the graphical issues about not being able to play in 4K, that's on the developer's end. That's something they have to work out. But I'm just talking about the launcher crashing and things like this. And this is the last thing I'm going to touch up on this. It drives me insane how many fucking people don't know this. And when you tell them this, they still argue with you. I have a friend of mine who constantly argues with me about this exact problem I'm going to bring up. And even though he's been sitting next to me and I've proven it by him going through this, he still fucking argues. When a game is installed on your computer, there are I gotta say 99.9% of the time, if not all the time, I have never found a game that doesn't have this. Inside the directory, inside the install directory, there are folders that contain DirectX files, VC redistributable files, and physics files, things like that. Those are not installed when the game gets installed, despite what anybody thinks. They somehow think it's a silent install. It's not. Manually open up these folders and install them. Once you install them, you then reboot your computer. If there are three separate files in those directories, install them all. But you don't install them all at once. You install one, reboot your computer. Install another, reboot your computer. Reinstall another, reboot your computer. What's interesting about this is every single person that's had a problem with these games, I have never had a problem with ever. And I've not even had half of the specs that some of these people have. Now, I'm not comparing my computer to theirs, but my point is I'm proving that it's not the computer. It has to do with the way I install my games. I leave shit alone. I don't fucking edit files. I don't jack settings up on I don't jack the game up on settings I can't handle. Now, what's really interesting about this, you can tell me I'm wrong all I want, but the fact remains throughout history, every single problem with every single game that people have had a problem with, I have never once had this issue. You're going to tell me I've gotten lucky on every single one of those? Well, millions of people are doing it. You cannot tell me I got lucky on every single one of those. But again, if you look at it, 99% of the people who install their stuff fuck with the installations. They change and edit files. They start making files read-only. They start creating their own drivers. That was another one yesterday. It's make your own driver. It's like, really? What the fuck are you doing? And then this is like using mods. They use mods, they use console commands, and then even though it's detailed, it's explained out in detail what the issue here is, they fucking still argue, despite that have been a pattern throughout history. You can't ignore the pattern. If the game launches if like a major game launches every single time, and people are having the same issues every single time, after doing the same things every single time, the problem is on your fucking end. You cannot blame the game developer for this shit and then try to argue with somebody who has never had a problem with it. Tell me I'm lucky. That's not how this operates. So yeah, I needed to get this out of the way because this is something that I go over here. And again, this is just people ask me, it's like, why are you belligerent? Why do you argue with people? I'm not arguing. I'm simply putting this into perspective because never once throughout the history of all these issues do gamers ever take responsibility for anything that they do. None of them acknowledge the fact that changing the information in the game, jacking the game up on settings, says somehow no, that doesn't affect anything. Really? So, again, I want to be clear that some people have legitimate issues. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That would be fucking retarded for me to say. But you cannot say this many people are having problems, that there's something wrong with the game, when this same crowd of people do the same thing on every single major launch. And then on top of that, you take this situation and you apply it to mods and look at what happens when they use mods and look at their arguments. None of them in any of these situations ever acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I'm using shit that broke my game. Yeah, I changed stuff that broke my game. It is fucking amazing, the retardedness level of this. And then they fucking argue with points that don't even matter. Well, the game developer allows me to change the directory. So fucking what? You're not talking to the game properly. I can run the game fine. You're not talking to the game properly. The issue here is you can fuck with the way the game and the launcher talk to each other. It's fucking amazing. Between the manual installation of the files, like I said, I'll use the game that my friend. I'll use one case in point here. There are drivers that have to manually be installed with this, and I'm not talking about the graphics drivers. I'm talking about the graphics that come with the game. If you look at any game install directory, any of them, any game on your computer right now, you will find a folder in there with redistributable files and DirectX. Those are given to you because those are part of what runs the game. My friend has a valid point, but his argument's invalid because that's not how this works, because the logic behind how things work is not how things actually work in reality on this, for the most part. So if you take a look at the DirectX file that's inside the game directory, I have DirectX on my computer. Why would I need that? People think, oh, they're just giving you DirectX. No, those are modified DirectX files that specifically go with the game, made by the game developer to run that game. If you don't install those things, you can run into problems. Notice I said you won't. I didn't say you will. I said you can. Same thing with the PhysX. If you have an NVIDIA card, yeah, you can get the physics off of NVIDIA. But there are specific things that the game developers do with these drivers that are in those packages that Microsoft doesn't have their technology, isn't part of their game. They develop this shit without Microsoft. They take the drivers and they edit them. That's how they work. This is why graphical mods such as Sweet FX and things like that work. They take the DirectX files and they modify them in adjustment to it. So the DirectX for Sweet FX is not what you get from Microsoft. They're different drivers. Just because you have it installed doesn't mean just because you have DirectX installed does not mean what came with the game is installed on your computer. It's just something I tell people all the time. So one of the games that works this way is John Woo Presents Stranglehold. My friend would always argue with me, well, I got DirectX. I'm like, you have to have those drivers. No matter what he does, he doesn't listen to me. And even after doing this, he still fucking argues. It's like it goes in one ear and out the other. So one day I was sitting next to him, and he installed John Woo's Stranglehold because we were doing something. And he's like, can't get this to run. Now, I knew what he was doing. I told him that you need these drivers. That's why I have them with the game. The game won't launch without them. Well, that's not going to work. Blah, blah, blah. So what did he do? He installed the game, launched, and it couldn't launch. Then I told him, open that directory. I told you. I looked right at him and I says, listen, that's not going to run without these drivers. These are the drivers you argue with me don't need to be installed because the game is supposed to install them. I said, that's not how this works. Go into the directory, open that up, install those. Now reboot your computer. As soon as he did, he launched the game. He goes, that's weird. I says, I tell you this all the time. You argue. And I told him, he argues with me about this. It's amazing because even after showing what's going on, they still fucking don't get it. It's like it goes in one ear and out the fucking other. It's like, really? So I just wanted to get this video out of the way. And the other thing, too, is if you take a look at the stream I did for Red Dead Redemption 2 yesterday, one of the first things people ask me, talk about pirating your games on here. If you go look, okay, I went online. I did that first thing to get it out of the way. But the second thing here is that if you watch while I'm playing, and I'm playing or going through the game, every person that ever makes a comment about any video I've ever made about, playing stupid or shitty development, if you take a look at that, they're like, oh, you can't play the game. I did it to prove a point where I'm reading shit off of the screen and I'm doing things to use as a learning curve because that's how gamers think. So that video yesterday proves that every single person making a comment at me is fucking stupid. And this is why I don't argue with people. It's like, if you're going to fucking say it, fine, whatever. All the shit always comes out in the end. So what's funny is people are going to watch what I'm doing there and then try to make an argument out of that when I make a new video about, oh, you can't play this. Well, you did it with Red Dead Redemption 2. My videos are not about whether or not I can do them. It's about how badly you fucking program the game is for somebody who's never picked up the game to understand and play it. Now, again, if you go look at everything in Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm sitting there dictating what's going on. You know, oh, okay, they're telling me they're going to go to a town now. I did that on purpose because I just like to make fun of people because people are just fucking stupid. They make assumptions, they try to act big and bad, they argue with you profusely, and I do shit just to make them feel about this big. And what's funny is, despite me doing that, people will still say, you're fucking stupid. All I'll do now is, now I have a reference point where I'll just say, go look at my Red Dead Redemption 2 video if you don't think I know how to play that. You're going to tell me that's not the same type of information? Even though I'm pointing shit out that's wrong, it's like, okay, this is this, this, and this. This is what they want me to do. You know, okay, or whatever. And then you'll look that I wasn't given any instructions, but I still went ahead and did it anyway. So the point here is that it's funny to watch people try to take the persona that I have and then apply it elsewhere, and then argue with points that are completely invalid. So that's really all I got to say about this. This is TL Gamer signing off. You guys have a good day or night wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in.